Welcome into Flex Tape. He is Flex, the former coach, the basketball savant, the genius in the sunglasses, and I am your humble servant, Espo, who will be helping take you through plays. Today is simple. We're going to take a look at a handful of plays when it comes to the Suns' defense. And Flex, what are you trying to show us here?
Yeah, just focus, concentration, and awareness, right? We talk about a lot of this on the pregame and postgame shows, and these are just a couple clips that kind of dumb it down a little bit and show you how some people are worried about these breakdowns, but when you actually look at them, you see that they're very fixable and very correctable with just communication and focus.
Yeah. Well, let's take a look at the first one. This one comes to us from the 76ers game the other day. And why don't you walk us through this screenshot here of what we're looking at?
Yeah, so real quick, they're coming in transition. You got Nick Batum, who sees Kelly Oubre all by himself in the corner. Now, what I want people to pay attention to is the three Suns in the center of this picture, okay? There's a 76er on the weak side all by himself on an island at the three-point line, but you got Nurk, you got Brad Beal, and you got KD at center court, and it looks like all five Suns players are fixated on these two guys on the strong side, Kelly Oubre and Nick Batum. And that's a problem because that's a lack of focus and awareness. There's clearly a guy on the other side of the court, and someone has to do something about that. If you look at the next slide. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, also, they have a 5-on-4 defensive advantage.
Point
here,
that out, yes,
because
sir.
there is obviously somebody lagging behind when it comes to Philly. So they should have the advantage in this situation.
Yes, absolutely. So there's 5-on-4 defensively. If you just look at it schematically, Book is probably going to close out to Kelly Oubre. You got Grayson on Batum, and it kind of looks like Maxey is Beal's responsible for Maxey. Now there's a guy that's not in the frame, which is a little bit disturbing because this should be an easy pickup, but KD is on an island and Nurk is floating around, and so yeah, it's not a good look, and this is focus and concentration and transition defense.
So walk me through this next frame. So Kelly makes a cut to the lane, correct?
Correct. Kelly takes a cut to the lane, and once again, you see five Phoenix Suns players surrounding Kelly Oubre, but once again, our mystery guy in the corner just sitting there all by himself, no one picking him up, and that is a complete breakdown, and now you see the Sixers have all five guys in the frame, but it's a little too late for that. At some point, I would imagine Kevin Durant probably should have shot out to the corner, or at the very least, Nurkic. Yeah. But it didn't happen, and then you'll see the end result.
Kelly has multiple options here too, because he's got three guys at the top of the key essentially, with just Brad Beal guarding them as well. So that's a breakdown as well.
A huge breakdown. Yeah, you literally, he's got multiple options. He can go corner, he can go wing, and then you play best shot at that point. So the Suns are in a terrible defensive situation, and this is something that's very fixable.
Okay, so let's take a look at the final frame here, and Kelly kicks it to the corner, and this is what you're talking about. Nurk doesn't have the time or the foot speed to close that gap here.
Correct. No time, no foot speed to close that gap. In NBA forms, that's considered wide open. You're going to see eventually the play out, but that is too open in the NBA. These guys are too good. That's sitting on an island. That's what I call get a cup of coffee type of shot in the NBA.
Well, let's take a look at the full play here as Kelly kicks it, and it's an easy three. I mean, it's that simple that they make the shot. So this is, how do you fix this? What is causing the issue here that leads to a breakdown like that defensively?
It's all communication. And if you looked at the score, the Suns were up 15. And so that's lack of concentration, lack of awareness, and it's just a little bit of sloppiness in transition. And so when you're up 15, these plays don't really bother you as much. But when you get to the fourth quarter and you see some of these collapses and you see the game get tight, these are the plays you got to go to. I know people fixate on the Suns' fourth quarter issues, but if you clean up these little things in the middle of a game, you don't have those problems in the fourth quarter. And so in essence, in transition, you just got to be more aware. People have to talk, and you got to know there's an open guy in the corner. We got three guys sprinting down. It's a 5-on-4 defensively. Somebody's got to get to a man.
So you're Coach Flex. You're holding a clipboard. Is this a thing that you fix in practice by just harping on it in film and then harping on it during practice to get these guys to communicate? Is it as simple as that to fix this kind of breakdown?
That's it. I mean, this is the type of stuff that I would sit down with my guys if I'm coaching them, I'm showing them the film, and then I'm holding them accountable the next time. Like, it's one of those things where I'm going to show you, you can't let this happen. You got to communicate better. And if I see that you're closing those gaps and being more aware on transition defense in the next game, then I did my job. But if you continue to make the same mistake, then I start throwing chairs.
All right. Well, that's kind of how it works around here too with the content as well. Let's take a look at the next play. We'll move into another play from the 76ers game. This is earlier in the game. This is another communication breakdown, right?
I mean, yeah, Espo again, 4 guys cluttered in the paint, a wide open Buddy Hield. Okay, if you just look at the basis of this, you got Brad Beal on the ball. Bobo's in no man's land. It's just a bad play. I think Frank Vogel called this one out. But this is just unacceptable. You got a guy with his back to the basketball, doesn't even know what's going on. I think that's Eubanks.
Who is Eubanks even guarding in this situation?
No one. He's guarding no one, Espo, and this is what I'm talking about. And so Bobo thinks he's on ball. I'm sorry, Brad Beal's on ball. Bobo thinks he's got the defender right in front of him. It looks like Eubanks is out on the island, but ultimately this looks like, at the end of the day, when you see it break down, it's a clear Bobo should have shifted down and contested that.
Well, so they kick it, and Buddy Hield gets... You said the last one that we looked at was considered wide open. This is super duper extra special wide open. And if that's the case, because there's nobody within, what would you say, 10 feet of him here?
Yeah, 10, 15 feet, man. That in NBA terms, that is just inexcusable, man. That's you can get a coffee, run in the stands, get a cheeseburger, pick up a beer for the friend, and get back and take the shot. That's just too open, and that's the type of stuff that is clearly Espo. It's not that the Sixers are better than the Suns. It's not that they're running a foreign offense similar to Golden State, right? The high peak Golden State days where they were running complex offenses. This is just simple, elementary stuff that can't happen against a Sixers team, and you see it right there.
Is this not knowing who you're matched up with, or is Bol doing the right thing because Drew Eubanks isn't anywhere near the guy he's supposed to be guarding? Like, is it some combination of the two here? Because to me, if you know your assignment, why are you nowhere near the guy you're supposed to be on?
And I can't imagine that Bobo's assignment was Buddy Hield on this play,
it doesn't make sense.
So it doesn't make sense. So you start to look at this and you wonder if this is complete breakdown of communication between every defender on that court in some way, shape, or form, right? And so in that play, Bobo has to cut that. They had to cut that gap, shoot over there, make that tough, maybe run him off the three-point line. But I'm starting to wonder if Bobo thinks he's in the right place. And again, this is coaching. This is communication. This is one of those moments where you're like, okay, guys, we're going to be in transition. People are going to run switches. On the court, you have to communicate. And I think that's the biggest problem. When I go to Suns games and I'm sitting close, you can hear them talking. And there's not a lot of communication going on. I like to think that's something that's going to be corrected going forward.
Let's take a look at the play in full speed here. And, I mean, it's just simple. I mean, it's that simple right there. So where are we going next here? I believe we're looking at the Hawks-Suns early in a game, and you say you told me prior, and it's pretty obvious when we'll see the shot here, they're in a 2-2-1 zone, correct?
Yeah, they're in what we call a little hybrid zone.
So let's take a look at this first slide here. So 2-2-1 hybrid zone, you're saying?
Yeah, it's like a hybrid zone. They like to call this a hybrid zone, a man zone, where this part of the defense is in zone and then the other part of it could be in kind of a semi-man. But this is a problem because you got 2 defenders up top. You got Brad Beal and KD up top. You got 3 Hawks up top, okay? So there is a clear, if you look at the circle and arrow, there's a clear gap in the middle of that zone right there. And you want to attack that, but you don't want to make it where people can sit up, put the beach chair and just take a shot. And that's kind of what this play becomes. You see him look at the zone, he sees it. You know, there's a couple options here. If he wants to drive straight to the paint, then you got backside defenders. So me being a basketball player, if I see this type of zone, I'm just walking to the middle and taking a shot, and you'll see what happens.
So, I mean, that's exactly what he does. I mean, he basically pulls from a couple feet beyond the arc, but this is a typical NBA shot now. This isn't 10, 15 years ago where that's super long distance. Yeah. This is a normal shot, and KD's the closest guy here to him, but really can't close it out.
Yeah,
right?
that's a practice shot in basketball now. Like that's a shot that everyone takes. That's a shot people are comfortable taking. And this is early in the basketball game. We're a minute into the basketball game. His Suns are up 3-5. This is one of those moments where the game just started and you don't know who's hot. You don't know who's feeling it yet. And it's kind of one of those you're in a dare situation. You're like, well, the game just started. Let's see if you can make this. And that happens a lot in basketball, but I like this to be a little bit more contested. I think KD could shift up a little bit more, make him make one more pass. Book will rotate. You got Nurk on the backside. So as simple as maybe coming up 2-3 feet changes the dynamics of this whole play.
Well, should KD on this play be similar to where Brad Beal
yes.
is? Is that, I mean, because that feels like what the spacing was intended to be on it. Right?
That's a great call, and that's the stuff we want to show people here. Brad Beal seems to be in the right situation. KD is just, again, 2 to 3 feet too low. If he is above the three-point line, none of this happens. And again, probably he'll shift over to the left side wing, and then Book will have to operate coming higher. But you want to at least get them into the action. He just dribbled up the court and walked into a three.
And in this situation, you don't mind if KD overplays it a bit, because if he gets past you into the lane, this is designed to have some help, right?
That's right. Well, Nurk's on the backside, so if he comes, Nurk's going to go on the backside, and you're going to go into automatic, help-to-helper mode. So, yeah, and again, one of the Achilles heels of the Phoenix Suns are giving up too many threes. If you're not generating enough threes, you can't give up that many threes. And so I'm okay giving away the paint in some situations, but giving up wide open threes, that's going to hurt you later on.
Yeah, and let's watch it in full speed here. And really, it looks like it's just a slight adjustment in that, because once he catches that, if you're there, he can't hit that three.
100%.
So again, slight adjustment in this defensive strategy, whether it's scheme or communication. You can fix this. The point here is a lot of this is fixable, correct?
That's the point. The point of breaking down all these clips is to show you how you go from worried to, like this is what we want. We want to get the people to understand that, when we talk about the Suns have to take away the three-point line, it's not a matter of talent. It's not a matter of them not being able to do it. It's a matter of focus and concentration, 2 or 3 moves left or right, and none of this happens. And so this should be optimistic, because this is all fixable.
Let's take a look at another play here from the Atlanta game. Later in the game, Suns are up by 4 late in the first, or excuse me, by 9 late in the first half. And walk us through what we're looking at here.
Okay, this is the one, Espo, that blows my mind. These are the ones that are coach killers. This is the one that drives you crazy, because this is a simple inbounds play, okay? And you got Bogey. He's going to rub off to the corner with Capella sitting there, okay? It looks like he's going to start to the corner, and you have 2 guys there. You want to talk about those 2 guys that are defending Bogey?
Well, yeah, you got Royce there, and then you've got Eric Gordon. Now, to me, you look at this and where they're positioned, you'd think Eric Gordon falls behind him, Royce goes up to the top,
That's
right? But is that the right rotation here? Is that what it should be, or is Eric Gordon in the wrong spot here?
Yeah, so this one is one where, again, a lot of this stuff is hybrid. A lot of this stuff is communication. So this could be as simple as, before we get to this point, Royce O'Neal communicating to Eric, hey, I got corner, you got top. Or vice versa. Eric Gordon saying, hey, I got corner, you got top. What this tells me here is that neither one of these guys communicated. And these are the ones that bother me, because these are the most fixable. This is a very simplistic NBA set. And it's really simple. You got an action to the corner, and you got a potential action to the top. Now, who's going to the corner and who's going to the top?
Well, let's take a look and find out here. Everybody went to the corner, and nobody went to the top, it appears.
There we go. So no one went to the top. So both guys followed Bogey to the corner. and this was a clean inbounds play. I don't know what to call this, Espo. If all those other ones you were getting, this guy is so open. I mean, what do you call that?
Well, if we called other ones super, this is like a Superman situation. It's so huge. It's a superhero kind of amount of distance here. But looking at this, when you see Eric Gordon going to try to get back to him that fast, does that suggest it was his assignment? Because Royce seems to have followed bogey, and Eric seems to be the one in a panic situation.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like Eric is recovering. It looks like Eric may have identified, hey, that's my mix-up. I'm going to run out there and close. And yeah, I mean, every indication is that. It looks like Royce is comfortable. It looks like he was clear. I'm going to the corner. Where are you going? It looks like Eric said, oh, Dan, that's my guy. And he darted out. And so you get a wide open three. And again, Espo, that is just me and you talking. In the middle of a basketball game, there has to be communication. This is so fixable that it's not as alarming as some people would think. And I'm certain Frank Vogel pulled a lot of this stuff out and showed them this type of stuff. But the idea is to just communicate, make sure we got top and wing covered, and none of this happens on this play. But if you look at the film, you'll see how easy this was, and you'll see the cross-up.
Let's look at what it winds up being here. And it really, I mean, it's just an easy lob or inbound play there for the open three. And those communication things costing extra threes, we've talked about it on the show a lot. When the Suns hit more threes than their opponents, even by one or two, their record is significantly better, right? It's the assists, and if you can limit some of the turnovers. But this, when you're looking at it in these simple communication things, it seems very fixable if you tighten that up. And then all of a sudden, it shifts the dynamics of what is most important. And the next one we've got is from actually the Wednesday game against the Nuggets, the win here. And this is early on, and we talked about this kind of on our watch-along, but the Suns seem to, and this was one of the first indications, scheme-wise, want to double Jokic here, even though it came at the detriment of giving up the threes.
Yes. So the Nuggets were 10 for 40 last night from the three-point line, 25%. That's the basketball game, because we talk about it all the time. If you look at the three-point line, you can pretty much see who won a basketball game in this new NBA era. Now, this is what we call, and when I'm coaching, Book is at the 50-yard line, right? And he's right in between Joker and right in between Michael Porter. And if this is the actual scheme, Book's in a perfect spot. You want to sit at the 50-yard line. You want to make Joker feel like I could be coming or maybe not. And you want to give him hesitation to feel like he could just pop it out to Michael Porter. Now, from the coaching perspective, this is just me speaking. This is my perspective. I'm sitting down. If I'm Devin Booker, I'm hedging a little bit higher to Michael Porter, and I'm kind of letting Joker get the one-on-one with KD because he's inviting a double, which tells me he really doesn't want that. The offense is looking for Michael Porter. If he weren't looking for Michael Porter, he'd be more aggressive here. So this is one of those ones where you don't know what Frank's true scheme was. Systematically, it looks fine, but preference-wise, I'd like to stay home on Michael Porter Jr. and give all that up to Joker in the paint.
In these situations, do the bigs have some tells whether they're actually going to back down their man or not? That a guy in Devin Booker's position, whether he's at that 50 or if he's up a little bit further, look at to try to gauge, is he actually going for that basket? Yeah,
so when I was always in this spot, you can just tell when a big is trying to invite the double. Because they'll take a power dribble and then they'll look directly at the defender. And if the defender starts to creep out a little more, there'll be a little bit of a shoulder roll that kind of says, please come back. It's just a weird tendency. But the way I coach my kids is when you see that tail, don't come back. because you're telling me you don't really want to have this battle in the post. You're preferring I take the bait and you get the 3. And so, again, my preference here, I would have stood home. I wouldn't have allowed it. But if you watch what happens, Devin kind of creeps closer and closer, and it becomes what it becomes. So there it is, right there. Now, let's talk about this, Espo, because it's important for people to understand this. The difference in space between where Devin was and where he is now is literally a foot.
Yeah, it's a couple, really a step. Beyond the free throw line.
There you go. So he was right in between the free throw line, right? And now he is below the free throw line. That's the indicator that Nurk need. I mean, that Joker. I'm sorry.
We keep doing that.
That's that's the indicator Joker wants, because he's saying that's his line. That's it. He's saying you get below the free throw line, I know you can't recover. And so that's what he was waiting for the whole time, and then you see what plays out.
Well, but in this case too, if you're coaching, it depends on who's guarding the guy too, right?
Yes.
If this was a switch scenario and you had Eric Gordon or Grayson Allen who are on the floor as well on Nurk, you're more likely to want to go double, right? Because you know that guy can't handle him in a one-on-one situation. But when you have Kevin Durant, who's a 7-footer, who's very savvy defensively, who had 5 blocks in this game, you should hedge a little less, right?
Yes, that's to me, that's coaching.
And some people say, well, why is Devin looking for a cutter here? Because he's got his head turned looking back towards the lane, but what is he actually looking for?
He's looking to see if there's a help defender on his man. He's right now diagnosing where his guys are, and he's saying, if I come completely, is there someone in position to pop out and help me with Michael Porter? And he makes that. This is what we call taking a picture, right? You take a quick snapshot and see where you're at. When he takes a snapshot, he realizes there's no way in hell if I go all the way, I'm going to get back. I am, or anyone else is going to get back in Michael Porter's spot.
But he's already in no man's land.
He's already in no man's land.
We'll see when we go to the video here, or when we go to the next shot here. Devin can't close that space in the time that Jokic hits that pass, right?
That's right. No way. And not in the NBA. These guys are too gifted. They're too talented. It happens too quick. Again, still shot of this. Some people may look at this and say, well, Devin is doing a good job of contesting this. And he made a valiant effort to contest this. But that is not a contested shot in the NBA. That is what we consider a wide open look in the NBA. The end result of it looks closer than it was. But no, that's too easy. And if he misses that, then you won. But if he makes it, it was a bad defensive possession.
We've talked about a lot of communication errors or not knowing who your man is. But here, this feels like, and we saw it play out throughout the game, a schematic thing where I don't know that I feel like that's a no-win situation for Devin Booker. If the game plan is to try to go down and double team, he can't close out. There's obviously everybody else is trying to stay home because you know how well Jokic can pass. So of course you're going to give up that look, right?
Oh, listen, looking at this play as many times as I did, Devin couldn't play it better. With where he was. He was in no man's land. You got to understand what the coaching preference is there. If the coaches are saying we don't want to give Joker this open look, then they did what the defense wanted them and got it out to Michael Porter to take what most would say is a deep shot. Again, we know in the NBA that's a pretty common shot. So it's all about preference here. I thought Devin did a really good job of managing the situation he was in, but me personally, I would have stood home and let Joker go to work.
Oh, and KD does what he can in this matchup too, where he holds strong on Jokic, but let's see how it plays out. I mean, it's pretty obvious. Michael Porter Jr. is going to sink that 3.
That's right.
So those are the plays we have. And so to sum it up, the Suns fix some of these communication errors so guys know where each other are on the defensive end and whose assignment is what. And if you tinker with the scheme a little bit, you can cut down on these threes that have hurt them throughout the year.
1,000,000%. And I want to end this on a positive note. The first 4 clips we showed you, the Philly games, the Atlanta games, I went back and looked at the Denver film, and I didn't see those errors. So the purpose of this is to show you something that they were doing last week. and then look at what they did yesterday. And I didn't see all those other. Now, this play in particular, this is a schematic feel. I don't think that was a bad defensive play. That was just kind of showing how they can, maybe take some threes away in that type of set. But I'm seeing improvement, Espo, and I think the key now is to take a deeper dive into the tape and now look at situations where the Suns are able to fix some of those, the lack of communication and run people off the three-point line, because I think they're already doing it.
And in a playoff series, it becomes a little different because you're playing the same team perpetually. So you stay in a fairly similar defensive scheme unless you need to make adjustments, right?
100%.
So that should play part in it as well, because these guys will be more familiar with the guys that they're playing as well. So the communication becomes a little bit easier in those situations too, right?
Yeah, you know what they say, Espo, after game one of a playoff series, everybody's plays.
Yeah.
So now what happens in playoff series is the defense tightens up because the personnel. And then you've seen all the first actions that teams run out of their playbook. Where it gets tricky is you got teams that will run first actions in the regular season. Like, for instance, the Atlanta play. The Atlanta play, that miscommunication where Bogey went to the corner, that was their first action, right? If they played it right, they have to go to option 2. What you see in playoff series is teams audible into the second read and the third read of an offense, and that's where it becomes a chess game. But you want to at least take away that first read. And in Atlanta, the Suns didn't do that. But as we're going later into the season, I'm seeing spurts where they're starting to take away the first action. So playoffs is a whole different thing, man.
I'm Espo, just running the telestrator. He's Flex, the former coach and basketball savant. This has been Flex Tape.
Peace out.